At number 10, where is Eden? You know, the Garden of Eden mentioned with Adam and Eve. You know, they led a beautiful life in the Garden of Eden until they ruined their blessings and introduced sin into the world. But where exactly is Eden anyways? No one's really sure. In the Bible, it is stated that a river went out from Eden to water the garden. From there, it divided and became the source of 4 rivers. And the name of the first river is Pishon, which flows through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. Now, the name of the second is Gihon, which flows through the entire land of Cush. Now, the name of the third one is Tigris, which runs east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates, as it's mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verses 10 to 14. But no one knows where the first humans experienced Eden and precisely where the garden is actually located. 2 of the 4 rivers mentioned in the book, Tigris and Euphrates, they exist and we know where they are today, but the other 2 haven't 100% been confirmed. Guesses are that Eden is in the Middle East based on the river Tigris and the river Euphrates, but no one knows 100% for sure. Now, moving on to number 9, did dinosaurs exist as well as other creatures? Okay, so modern science has found proof for the existence of dinosaurs, but the Bible doesn't talk about them as modern education does. In the Bible, 2 creatures are mentioned that are monstrous in size and have supernatural characteristics, unlike the animals we know today. Could this be in reference to dinosaurs or maybe some other type of creature? One of the creatures is Behemoth, that's described as a beast to be feared and which can only be killed by God's sword. Now, the other is a multi-headed beast called Leviathan. And in the Old Testament, Leviathan appears in the book of Psalms chapter 74 verses 14 as a multi-headed sea serpent that is killed by God and given as food to the Hebrews in the wilderness. So as you and I both know, this planet, we see some pretty interesting and strange looking creatures from time to time. But the ones described in the Bible, they seem to have otherworldly origins. Moving on to number 8, how did the giants come to an end? So giants have been mentioned in the Bible quite a few times. In the book of Genesis 6 verse 4, it said, the Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in onto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same were the mighty men that were of old, men of renown. Now, there are a few questions that this passage brings up. Why do people not grow to be giants now? Especially it says that giants lived in the world after that. And what specific race of people was it talking about? Now, there's many different interpretations that exist out there about the Nephilim, who they are, where they're from, if they exist or not. But not much is really found about them in the Bible specifically. Now from there, let's look to number 7, evolution. Evolution, the change in the characteristics of a species over several generations, is a very common believed concept today. But in the Bible, there is just no mention of evolution. It's mentioned that God created all life from man to animals alike, but there is no description of the evolutionary process, and it's biblical mystery. Was there evolution or not? Now for number 6, what are atoms? Just like there's no specific mention of evolution in the Bible, there's also no mention of atoms that are the building blocks of matter. The Bible has left a discovery of many of these smaller units of matter up to modern science and education, and there's no specific reference to them in the Bible at all. There, however, is a passage in the New Testament in the book of Hebrews chapter 11 verse 3, which says, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. This passage points to the idea that there are unseen forces behind everything that we see. So does it mean that there's something beyond atoms that work as a framework of everything that we see? And what else has science not discovered yet? Halfway into number 5, let's talk about alien life. This is a very popular subject. Now, number 6 just alluded to this when it mentioned worlds, plural for world, but it doesn't mention life on those worlds. Today, scientists are spending a whole lot of money and resources on finding traces of alien life and communicating with them. Although up until now, there have been some UFO reports and conspiracy theories, there is actually no proof, no concrete proof that life exists beyond our planet. But in the Bible, outside of the mention of angels living in heaven, there's no specific mention about aliens or life beyond our planet that live on other planets out there. If there is life out there, will we ever know? The mystery at number 4 is the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Ark of the Covenant is a chest that is supposed to have had the tablets engraved with the 10 Commandments. Now, whether it was destroyed or captured or hidden, nobody really knows for sure. One of the most famous claims about the Ark of the Covenant and where it is that before the Babylonians completely ransacked Jerusalem, it had found its way all the way to Ethiopia, where it still is today in a town of Axum in the St. Mary of Zion Cathedral. Number 3, this mystery involves where the Holy Grail is. Where is it actually? Now, if you're not familiar with the term, the Holy Grail is the chalice that Jesus used at the Last Supper to drink from. He served wine in it and gave it to his disciples and all of that, and it really holds a lot of value for Christians. They believe that it was buried in England by Jesus's uncle or taken from the Holy Land by the Knights Templar. But in the Bible, there is actually no hint about the location of this chalice. According to BBC, they have stated more than 200 places in Europe alone that claim they are in possession of the one true Holy Grail. But the Bible has no answer of its location, nor does it mention if it really exists or not. Now, moving on to number 2, another popular subject having to do with the end of the world. There's a whole lot of detail about the apocalypse in the Bible, specifically in the last book, Revelation. Now, it says that the world will end and everything in it will be laid bare, and the last day will occur after a period called the millennium. Now, over the course, more than 80 documentaries containing the predictions of how the world will end, they have actually shed some light on the Christian scriptures, but there's actually no specific date or time of the world ending mentioned in the Bible. It's still a big mystery. And finally, at number 1, how did people live so long in the Bible? In the Bible, we find mentions of people living for hundreds of years. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. And that's found in the book of Genesis chapter 5 verses 3. Now, modern technology has been able to help people to live upwards of 80 to 90 years. And some people, they live to 100 years and beyond that, but not too far beyond 100 years. But so far, we have not seen people live for hundreds of years. Now, in the past eras, people tracked time differently. So is that the answer as to why people live so long? You know, if you tracked a shorter year, you can say somebody is 600, but to us, they could be 30 years old, let's say. But is that the explanation, or is there more to this? Either way, we don't have a concrete, solid answer as to why people live so long in the Bible. Number 10 leads us to the Illuminati. The Illuminati is a secret society that has become the subject of numerous conspiracy theories. The origins of the Illuminati can be traced back to the late 1700s in Bavaria in Germany, where the society was founded by Adam Weishaupt, who was a professor of law. Now, the Illuminati was originally a group of intellectuals who sought to promote Enlightenment ideals and oppose religious influence over public life. However, due to their secretive nature and supposed involvement in political and social upheavals throughout history, the Illuminati has become shrouded in mystery, and there's a whole lot of suspicion going on here, you know, in the minds of people. But many people believe that the Illuminati is still active today and controlling world events from behind the scenes. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have the Freemasons. The Freemasons is a fraternal organization that traces its origins back to the early 17th century in England. The organization's membership is made up of men who share a belief in the brotherhood of mankind, the fatherhood of God, as well as the immortality of the soul. Freemasons have a very complex system of hierarchy and rituals that have been shrouded in a whole lot of secrecy, leading to multiple conspiracy theories about their true intentions. However, the organization has repeatedly stated that their goals are purely philanthropic and charitable. And their members are encouraged to lead exemplary lives and give back to their communities as much as possible. From there, we look at the Bilderberg Group at number 8. The Bilderberg Group is an annual private conference attended by approximately 130 participants from North America and Europe, including political leaders and business executives and experts in various different fields. The first Bilderberg meeting was held in the Netherlands back in the year 1954, and since then, the conference has been held in various locations around the world. The group stated that their goal is to promote dialogue and understanding between Europe and North America. But many people believe that the Bilderberg Group is a shadowy organization that is manipulating global events for their own benefit. But others see it just as a harmless meeting of influential people discussing good things that they want to do in the world. Number 7 leads us to Skull and Bones. The Order of the Skull and Bones is a secret society that's based at Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. The society was founded in 1832 and is one of the oldest and most exclusive collegiate secret societies in the United States. Members of the society who are selected from the senior class at Yale are sworn to secrecy about the group's activities. And the society's symbol, which is a skull and crossbones, is often associated with piracy and death. So this, of course, further fuels the rumors about the group's alleged ties to the occult. Several prominent political figures, businessmen, including several US presidents and a lot of celebrities have been reported to be members of this society. From there, let's take a look at the Knights Templar. Now, this was a Christian military order that was founded in the 12th century during the time of the Crusades. The order was initially established to protect pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, but it quickly grew in power and wealth, and it became one of the most influential organizations of the Middle Ages. The Knights Templar, they were renowned for their bravery in battle and their strict code of conduct, which included vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. However, their immense wealth and influence eventually led to their downfall, and in the early 14th century, the order was disbanded by the Pope, with many of the members being arrested and some even executed. The Knights Templar have since become the subject of numerous legends and conspiracy theories, with some people claiming that the order possessed secret knowledge or artifacts such as the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, and that they continue to exist secretly to this day. Coming in at the number 5 spot, let's take a look at the Trilateral Commission. This is a non-governmental organization that was founded in 1973 by prominent political and business leaders from North America, Europe, and Japan. The organization stated that its goal is to promote cooperation and understanding between these 3 regions and to address global issues such as economic development and security. The Trilateral Commission is composed of members who are selected based on their leadership positions and expertise in various fields, and the Trilateral Commission has been the subject of conspiracy theories, of course, with some claiming that the organization is a very secretive organization. It kind of operates in the shadows and it seeks to create a one world government. These theories are largely unsupported by evidence, and the Trilateral Commission continues to operate as a forum for dialogue and cooperation between North America, Europe, and Japan. Opus Dei comes next at number 4. This is a Catholic lay organization that was founded in 1928 by Spanish priest Josemaria Escriva. And this organization's stated goal is to promote holiness and sanctification in everyday life, and its members are encouraged to integrate their faith into their work and personal lives. Opus Dei is known for its emphasis on personal spirituality, discipline, as well as self-sacrifice, and its members are expected to adhere to strict moral codes. The organization has been accused of being secretive and elitist, and people say that it seeks to exert undue influence in the Catholic Church and beyond. However, Opus Dei, they say that, well, what they're really trying to do is just to seek to promote spiritual growth and contribute to the betterment of society. Coming in at the number 3 spot, we have the Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucians is a mystical and philosophical movement that traces its roots back to the early 17th century in Europe. The group is named after the legendary figure Christian Rosenkreuz, who is said to have possessed secret knowledge and powers. The Rosicrucians believe in the existence of a hidden spiritual reality that can be accessed through various practices, including meditation, alchemy, and other rituals. They are also known for their use of symbolism, such as the rose and cross, as well as their belief in the interconnectedness of all things. The Rosicrucians have been associated with various other esoteric and mystical movements throughout history, and their ideas have actually influenced many thinkers and artists over the years. Coming down to the number 2 spot in this episode, let's take a look at the Hermetic Order. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was a magical order that was founded in the late 19th century in Great Britain. The group was inspired by various occult traditions, including Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and ceremonial magic, and its members sought to explore the hidden realms of the human psyche and the universe. This group's teachings focused on spiritual development and attainment of higher levels of consciousness, and its members engage in various practices such as meditation, divination, and ritual magic. The group's influence on the occult and spiritual movements of the 20th century has been very significant, with many of its ideas and practices still being studied and practiced by occultists and magicians today. Ending off this episode at number 1, we have the Thule Society. Now, the Thule Society was a German occult group that was founded in Munich in 1918, and the society was named after the legendary island of Thule, which was said to be the center of a highly advanced civilization. The Thule Society was focused on promoting a nationalist and anti-Semitic ideology that sought to establish a pure Aryan race, and the group was influential in the early years of the Nazi Party. Also, the Thule Society was associated with the occult and mystical beliefs, including the idea of a secret society that possessed ancient wisdom and supernatural powers. Okay, so let's jump in now at number 10. We have angelic encounters. Many books have been written and countless stories have been told of people who believe they have had encounters with angels. Sometimes they are described as beings of light. Other times they're described as being beautiful human beings, while others they're just described as being regular looking humans. They almost always appear in a time of need, whether it's some sort of major life intervention or if somebody needs a little bit of encouragement, that angel might show up in whatever form it chooses to take on. But were they actually angels though? Kind of similar to number 10 is number 9, Marian apparitions. For centuries, visions of Mary, the mother of Jesus, have been reported in different parts of the world. Claims of apparitions continue nowadays, and in the year 1968, a Marian apparition was even allegedly televised in the country of Egypt. Mary usually asks people to pray and occasionally makes prophecies. Of course, you know, there's a very famous occurrence happening in Fatima, Portugal, where they said Mary had made a prophecy there. But skeptics say that these visions and these appearances of Mary are hallucinations or maybe even mass hysteria. And there's even others that say that this is actually comparable to when people see UFOs and have alien encounters. Mystery at number 8 is the Ark of the Covenant. The New Testament book of Exodus describes in detail this box that's overlaid with gold, and it was something that the ancient Israelites built from God's instructions to contain the tablets that hold the 10 Commandments. But not only that, the Israelites carried it wherever they went, and even into battles, because it was said to have incredible powers. The Ark was to represent the throne of God, and some think that the Ark was literally a transmitter of God's power, and in turn made it a very powerful weapon. It is believed by many researchers that the Ark is actually still in existence today, but it's hidden and protected somewhere in the world. Number 7 brings us to a fascinating mystery. Incorruptibles. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, incorruptibles are bodies of people, usually saints or other people that are revered, that miraculously do not decay, even after decades or even centuries. The bodies often lie in public view in churches and shrines, and saints and popes and even some companions of the Islamic prophet Muhammad are among those whose bodies are believed to have been preserved. There was one case of the Blessed Margaret of Mottola, and it was recorded in an article called Saints Preserve Us. And the article says, and I quote, "She died in 1330, but in 1558 her remains had to be transferred because her coffin was rotting away. Witnesses say the clothes have rotted, but Margaret's body hadn't." Stigmata comes in at number 6. This is one of the most controversial mysteries in this episode. When a person is somehow inflicted with the wounds of crucifixion, like Jesus had in their palms usually, or sometimes in their feet, that is known as stigmata. This phenomenon dates back to at least Saint Francis of Assisi and has been claimed by numerous people since then. Many unofficial accounts of stigmatas have been proven to be frauds though, where people were found out to have just put the wounds in their bodies themselves. Weeping and bleeding icons is another big mystery. Statues and paintings and other likenesses of Jesus and Mary, as well as other saints that appear to be weeping and sometimes even weeping blood, are commonly reported around the world. There's often multiple claims of this in a given year, and one occurrence was of a painting of Jesus hanging in the Bethlehem Church of the Nativity above the spot where Christ is said to have been born. It's seen to be weeping red tears. Others include the Weeping Madonna in Toronto, Canada, and many, many others. Skeptics, though, suspect fraud in all of these cases. The healing power of prayer comes up next. There is definitely a big ongoing debate about the healing power of prayer. You'll see articles and videos of experiments being carried out that show that prayer played a vital role in healing somebody. And then the next month, another source would say that, well, actually prayer didn't have any effect on healing somebody at all, and here's why. But either way, the question still stands: is prayer truly a miracle? Or is there some kind of psychic or quantum effect that humans do not fully understand yet that happens when somebody praise? Moving on to number 3, a very popular one, the Shroud of Turin. No matter how much scientific testing is done to the Shroud of Turin, the results are never satisfying for anyone. Well, that is anyone that believes that the Shroud of Turin is what they say it is. Those who want to believe that it is the burial cloth of Jesus will definitely not be proven wrong despite carbon dating and other tests. The shroud is a 14-foot strip of linen on which is faintly imprinted the likeness of a man that seems to bear the wounds of crucifixion. And there are people that believe that this is in fact an image of Jesus whose likeness was miraculously imprinted on the cloth, possibly at the time of his resurrection. Radiocarbon dating in 1988 concluded that the shroud dates back only to somewhere between 1260 and 1390 AD, so that's well after the time of Jesus. One theory is that it's actually a creation of Leonardo da Vinci. Either way, those who believe this is in fact a face covering for Jesus question how accurate radiocarbon dating is anyways. Let's look at the Star of Bethlehem at number 2. While billions of people around the world accept New Testament Gospels as being fact, religious scholars and scientists, they often seek a scientific basis for many of the events that are described in the New Testament. And one common occurrence referred to in the New Testament is the Star of Bethlehem. According to the Gospel of Matthew, there were some magi who arrived in Jerusalem and they were in search for the newborn King of the Jews, saying that they had followed a moving star to get there. Researchers say that the star could have been something else, like a comet or the planet Jupiter or a supernova or even a UFO. But whatever was seen in the sky that night still remains a topic of debate. Was it actually a star or was it something else? We end this episode off at number 1. Let's take a look at prophecies. Various religions and their foundational texts, they're filled with prophecies that believers say have been or will eventually be proven true. Most religions across the board would agree that a prophet is a person who receives a divine message and speaks to other human beings on behalf of a deity. Now, whether the gift of prophecy continues in our present world, it's definitely still a subject of theological debate. But in recent years, self-described prophets, they have multiplied in the world. Many claim to be hearing directly from God, only to be exposed as frauds when what they said was to happen didn't actually happen, and others would admit that they have lied. Yet still, there are those who believe that God can and has in fact spoken to people through various means, and that all true prophecies and prophets will eventually be proven to be 100% true.
So let's go back to the 1800s. As a matter of fact, 1800 itself. So we're talking about the USS Pickering, and it was the first ship to really go missing in the Bermuda Triangle. Now there are some kind of rumors that some ships have done it before, but this is the most well-documented ship. Now it was a topsail schooner named after Timothy Pickering, who was the head of state. Now on August 20th of 1880, it was supposed to go to the West Indies, where it was going to become part of Thomas Truxton's squadron. Now the last time she was seen was on August 20th when she left Newcastle, Delaware. And after that, the ship disappeared. There are many theories, but most believe that it was sunk in a gale in September with 90 people aboard. Because also at that same time, the USS Insurgent sunk because of the storm. Now, okay, we are talking about, well, incidents and accidents that happened in the Bermuda Triangle, but I'm quite curious of where the Bermuda Triangle got its name. This goes back to 1964 from an article written by Vincent H. Gaddis for the Argosy magazine. Now, in the magazine, he had a general idea of where each point of the triangle was. However, scientists and other theorists have said, well, it's in different locations. But as for the United States Board of Geographical Names, they don't recognize any of these points, and nor do they recognize the Bermuda Triangle itself. Now, for this next one, let's talk about the biggest disaster to ever happen at sea in the Bermuda Triangle. And that was of the USS Cyclops. This one was big. Now, it was a Proteus-class collier. And the story goes that on March 4th, 1918, the ship had lost engine power. And after that, the ship went down, and what makes this accident infamous is that 306 men were on board when she sunk. As a matter of fact, it was so infamous that the US Navy has titled it as the worst loss of life without combat reasons. Now, there are many different theories to suggest why the ship went down. One of the most popular being the fact that a central I-beam became eroded and practically snapped the ship in two. Now, let's talk about the Carroll A. Deering. This was another schooner ship. Now, she was carrying cargo on January 28th, 1921, and she was seen by the Cape Lookout lightship, and they had noticed that the crew was kind of milling about in areas that they shouldn't have, and the ship had received some damage from a storm. However, a few days later, the ship was found at the Diamond Shoals on January 31st. But this time, the ship was completely empty. Theories suggest that there might have been pirates that came and took over the ship. Others suggest that maybe a mutiny took place. Now, you know what? Next one, let's jump back to the USS Cyclops. You know, the one that we just talked about like 1 second ago? Now, remember how I told you she was a Proteus-class ship? Well, she wasn't the only ship of her class to go missing in the Bermuda Triangle. As a matter of fact, her sister ship, the USS Proteus, was lost off the coast of St. Thomas with 58 people on board. And that was on November 23rd of 1941. But a month later, another sister ship to the Cyclops, the Nereus, was also lost. And that makes 3 out of 4 of the same class ship lost, and probably due to the I-beam problem. Now, here is one that is so infamous, you probably already know about it. We're talking about Flight 19. This was a squadron of Avengers that went missing on December 5th, 1945. Now, these guys were just doing a training exercise. They just went out into the sea, and then they never came back. And that means 14 guys were gone missing. But what's creepy is not only did those planes go missing, but part of the rescue team went missing as well. They sent out 2 Martin PBM Mariner flying boats, and one of them never came back with 13 men aboard. Man, that is just weirdly creepy. I mean, sister ships going down and the rescue team going down as well. It's like, what is the Bermuda Triangle? Now here's an interesting one. The USS Scorpion was a skipjack nuclear submarine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure hearing about a nuclear submarine going down to Bermuda is not a good thing. Now in May 21st of 1968, she was last reported about 50 miles south of Azores. But about 6 days later, she was presumed overdue. Now after a big search, the Navy presumed her as lost and took her off the Navy list. However, she was found in October with her hull being split in two. Now there's many different theories about how she went down. Some people think that, well, she got struck by a Soviet torpedo and went down, but some experts are saying no, she went down because of accidental explosion when they were testing a torpedo. Now the L. Austin, this is a very weird story. Another schooner that during her voyage of 1881, the crew noticed another ship with no crew aboard. What's with all these ships with no crew aboard in Bermuda? However, the captain of the L. Austin decided to split her crew in half and sail both ships back to New York. However, because of a storm, the two ships were separated and the unknown ship was never seen again except for one time. The L. Austin did reach New York on February 11th of 1881, which was an exceptionally long journey for her, which most of the time was taken up looking for the other ship. The Sulphur Queen. Now this T2 tanker, she was converted in 1960 to carry molten sulfur. Now she disappeared February 4th, 1963, somewhere south of the Florida Straits. Now she had 39 crew aboard and the US Coast Guard determined that the ship should have never sailed due to terrible maintenance. Now last but not least, we gotta take one of the most recent accidents.
The SS El Faro has been the worst accident in 33 years.
Despite the fact that we even have all this modern technology and GPS, they just don't know what happened.
Now on October 1st of 2015, the SS El Faro lost engine power and was taking on water.
Now the captain did radio out saying that they did contain the flooding, but however her emergency beacon was activated shortly after and the ship was never heard of again. Now although like I said they contained the flooding, it was her engines that determined the fate of the ship. Because at that time Hurricane Joaquin had turned into a Category 3 hurricane, and that thing was just heading her way. Eventually the whole ship lost contact around 7:30 a.m. and about a month later they did find her wreck 15,000 feet below of where her last position was. And she was hiding in a very dark spot of the ocean. Now, although there's tons of cargo laying about, there has been no trace of the crew.